Hello, amazing artists. It's Kelly Folsom here, and welcome back to another Art Life Conversations podcast. In today's topic, we're continuing on our series, The Real Reason Why You're Not Painting, Creating, and What to Do About It. I also just want to say, and obviously I've shared personal examples of my own for all of these things, and I will continue to do that. But just know that I have, gone through all of these situations, so you're not alone. And I think that all of these things are actually very common for most artists to deal with. So they're common obstacles and hurdles and challenges that pretty much every artist is going to go through and every artist is going to deal with. And it's really is a matter of dealing with them and moving through them and overcoming them if you're actually going to be a thriving, successful artist, right? And when I say success, that's just like whatever that means to you. So I started to touch on this last week, and that was, where is all of this going? You have to know, where is your art going to go? Literally. Last week we were talking more about in terms of like, where's this going in terms of goals? What do you want out of it? Out of, making your art. But today it's like, where is the art literally going? And whenever an artist does not have an audience that is, supporting their art, responding to their art in some way, shape, or form, but I'm going to really say like buying their art, then that creates a basically like it clogs up the creative system. So there's kind of this flow. There's this flow to being a creator. And we produce, and then we have to find a way to have an audience for that art that we produce. And then that it's like it cleans out the system and we continue to go through the cycle. And all of this like pious, baloney bullshit that gets talked about out there, like, oh, well, you should just do it just because you want to do it, blah, 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 blah. And I just think it's so like high and mighty, prideful, pious BS. Okay. It's like, get off your freaking high horse, and get real. Most artists are going to need that feedback, that appreciation for their art. It's very natural. It's very normal. It's actually quite healthy. It's what contributes to us thriving as artists. So I know I have been in times like that in my artistic development where I've had so many paintings that I've created and nowhere for them to go, nowhere to show them. Nobody was buying them or buying so few, that it was just like, what is the point? What's the freaking point of me continuing to do this if people aren't going to appreciate it? If I can't, find collectors who want my work, and that would stifle me so quickly. And I know that I'm not the only one because I've worked with so many artists. I have friends who are professional full-time artists, and they face the same dilemma and the same frustration. But if that cycle doesn't keep going through, and there's a cycle to business in general. Business is really just creating something. Business is you're creating something and offering something to the world, whether that's a thing or a service, right? That's all it is. And then is the market responding to it? That's all business is. And art is really no different. It's all a creative act, right? But that if you're not painting, creating, this might be another one of those. Again, we're kind of going through to diagnose, and you might be having issues in all of these areas. And I would go through and look at like, which one is the one that's really bothering me the most, that's really, hurting my heart and hurting my artistic creativity and productivity. So I even though I was in galleries across the country, I was in like, at some point, like a dozen galleries from coast to coast, you know, and I still was not selling very much work. And it was just so disheartening to me. And I would still keep creating, but it was hard. It was like I would get so filled with self-doubt, like, what is the point? You know, nobody's buying these. I'm selling fewer and fewer of them every year, and I don't know why that is. And so I finally, decided like I am going to start selling my own art. I am going to start figuring out like how to get my work out there online, how to, find people to buy my work. I'm going to learn how to sell better. I'm going to learn how to market my work better. And, it was a whole other skill set that I really had to step into. And it's something now that and I resisted it like many artists. I resisted it for so long, but because I was so kind of getting depressed artistically, I was just like, yeah, making a decision. I am going to start learning how to do this. It's got to get better than this, or else I'm going to have to maybe go do something else with my life, and so in 2018, especially, and I had started kind of learning how to do some of it, just trial and error on my own before that. But in 2018 was the first time that I actually paid a coach, signed up for a course, paid a coach to support me, not to support me, but for me to learn from her, and to learn how to do all of those things. And so now, I still, no artist is ever, I don't think, going to sell every single piece that you create. That's unreasonable. But I do feel like it's very reasonable to expect that, at least 30%, I would say, of your work gets out there and finds an audience in the world. Ideally 50%. But again, it's not like you can just sit around and hope that it happens. So that's the other thing. That's another limiting belief, that a lot of artists hold is, well, people just aren't buying it and there's nothing I can do about it. I'm doing all the right things. I'm in the galleries, I'm on social media, but they haven't really taken the time and put in the investment to actually learn how to sell their art, how to brand their art, how to market their art, all that kind of stuff. And there's a lot of different avenues and paths to that. And that's something that I help artists with, in the Art Life School community. I mean, we have so many artists we have a new artist who just came in, who's actually a beginner. And she's just been in the school for a few months and she's already selling some of her paintings and she's so excited. It feels good. It feels good to get recognized, for what we're doing. And in this society, money is one of the ways that we get recognized. Somebody buying what we're creating is one of the ways that we get that validation and that recognition. It's not the only way, but it is one of the main ways. It's just saying like, hey, I value what you do enough to exchange my money and trade you my money for your painting or your art. Okay, so the second real reason why you're not creating and what to do about it is you don't know what your artistic voice is. When you go to the studio, you don't know what to create. You don't know what to paint. You just maybe are just, kind of floundering. You haven't really discovered who you are as an artist yet, what you're really here, what really lights you up about creating, what is it that you would love to put out into the world. You just don't know what your artistic voice is, right? And so I know for me in the early days, was really a challenge because, like I say, I would go to classes and I would draw like the figure, right? I would draw the figure or the portrait. I had like a still life drawing class. I was mostly signing up for drawing classes at the time. But when it came to making my own independent work, I didn't really know what to create. I didn't know what to do. And then even whenever I got into art school, there were so many different like styles, genres, you know, so many different painting techniques even. And it was incredibly confusing. And it was kind of like, whoa, there's just like way too much to choose from. And I liked a lot of different styles and techniques and genres. And um, so in the beginning, I really struggled with, figuring out like what direction to go in. What kind of art did I want to make? Did I want to, I knew I wanted to do oils. I knew I wanted to do representational art, but, you've really kind of got to get more specific than that. What kind of style do you want to paint? Classical realism? Do you want to be impressionistic? Do you want to be more contemporary and bold? Do you want to have like narratives in your paintings, literal themes or literal narratives? You've got to get more specific about who you are as an artist and what your artistic voice is. And if you don't know what that is, then you can really struggle if you don't know how you want to create. Like, do you like to be painterly or do you like to be tight? What's the process that you like to create in? And sometimes too, I've seen artists can get into like this, sometimes like this kind of Frankenstein situation where they're taking they're sampling a lot. And I do think that's a good idea in the beginning. I sampled a lot of different things and it gave me an exposure to all of these different things. And then at some point I had to say, oh, I got to pick something. I got to kind of pick a thing that feels good to me, a style, a niche, a genre. I've got to get clear on like a direction to go in, something I think is going to work for me. So if you don't know what that is yet, and you're kind of all over the place and you're trying way too many different techniques and styles and genres, and you're getting yourself super confused, it's another way that you kind of don't build any real momentum and growth. Because whenever I finally decided, like, I'm going to put most of my time into still life in the early days, I would still go and draw and paint the figure and the portrait, and I would still do landscape painting, but I would say, 60, 70% of my time was going towards this one genre and style of painting and really working towards mastering that. And then I would, add in the others, as I saw fit. But as soon as I started really kind of choosing like, oh, I really love representational painting. I like to paint looser. I started figuring out I like to paint faster than some of my mentors were painting. I like traditional, but, I also, don't just want to do, chiaroscuro, dark, moody paintings all the time, so what will happen is once you kind of get going in one direction, you can start to get even more nuanced in your artistic voice, but you can't really get to that level of nuance where somebody can go, that's a Kelly Folsom painting, right? You can't really get to that level of nuance in your artistic voice and style if you don't like build enough in one direction. So if you're going in too many different directions, you're too split in your focus, then that can be really challenging too to get to any level of strength with your artistic voice. And it's kind of, you reach a deeper level of mastery whenever you get to that point, and that makes the painting easier. It makes your painting process easier. Your outputs, your outcomes will be somewhat more predictable right? Which helps you to ensure that, you're not going to crash. You never know whenever you're going to crash and burn whenever you go to the easel kind of thing. So it really does solve a lot of issues, and it's not something that can happen overnight, right? Like, it is a process. So both of these things are things that I help artists with inside the Art Life School. So even if you don't want to paint like me, that's totally fine. But there's 2 courses inside of the Art Life School that you can get access to. You can either buy lifetime access to them, for, I think they're $9.97 each, or you can pay for limited time access to them by signing up for the membership, which is $97 a month. So the first course is helping artists learn how to sell their work specifically online, organically, without paid advertising. And so that one is called Double Your Painting Sales in 30 Days. And so that course is available inside the Art Life School. The other course that's available is called Finding Your Artistic Voice. And this is where, in this course, I walk you through the process that I took myself through when I was trying to figure out, okay, let's land on something here, because I intuitively knew and felt once I got to art school that, I've got 4 years, to dig deep here and to really, get to a level of master, some level of mastery and nuance in an area. And I knew that 4 years was not that much time. So for an impatient person, I still knew that 4 years was like kind of a stretch to do it that quickly, personally. And for a lot of people too, that's part of the issue too, is like, they're just not being realistic enough. Maybe you're not being patient enough, have enough clarity. And that's what Finding Your Artistic Voice course is for, is to help you to discover your own inner clarity, instead of, just going, oh, well, this person said do this person said this sells. So I do think, you want to have a balance and a combination of those 2 things. You do want to learn to sell, but you don't want to paint to sell, or you don't want to paint depending on what people are telling you will sell, right? You want to find who you are as an artist, find your artistic voice, and then learn how to sell after that. Okay. So if you are finding yourself not creating art, not painting, those are the 2 things I would look at. Either you're not selling regularly enough, you don't have any audience for your art, or you just don't have clarity enough on what it is that you want to paint, and you're confused. And I say that in sales too, like, if you confuse them, you lose them. The same thing for ourselves. If we're confused, we're going to feel lost, and when we feel lost, we tend to just kind of spin ourselves in circles and just kind of go on autopilot and do whatever, and not do the thing because we don't know what we want to do. So I hope this has been helpful for you. If you want to check out those courses, I'll leave the link for the website down below. Again, you've got 2 ways you can access that, so you can just decide. artlifewithkelly.com with an I is the website, and you can go check those out. All right, wonderful artists, wishing you the happiest, most successful, most joy-filled art life ever. Much love, happy creating, and bye for now.